Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I'm just in here drinking my morning coffee. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. But on to the point. A large number of people have said, Jason, Greg Doucette is now doing Natty or not. Something you used to do. And he said he thinks Mike Thurston is Natty. Oh my God, call him out on his lies. Well, we can get to that in a minute. I thought it was interesting he started with Mike O'Hearn, and that's the other point. It's more or less what I've said. He kind of pointed out with Mike O'Hearn that basically the way Greg words it, like you guys know it, how he says stuff, that you're an idiot. If you honestly think, and this is what I've said, everyone who's been around lifting for any period of time is going to tell you that if you honestly and really truly think anywhere on any level that there's a 1% chance that Michael Hearn is natural, you basically are an idiot. You really are. Like that's the level of, I don't like to even insult people on here anymore, but if a person even thinks that there's a 1% chance, a 1% chance that Mike is natural, you actually are an idiot. You're probably a really stupid or a really naive person. There's just no way there's a 1% chance. It's a zero. There's not even a remote possibility in any scenario that's even imaginable of genetic engineering super soldiers that he's Captain America or something, in which case he's not natural. Basically, he probably should play Captain America. I think he'd be good at that role. But that being said, there's no genetic freak on earth who, even with hard work at his age, is going to be where he is. Now, what did I say before? Someone had asked me before, what do I think he does? He called him mycotren and everything else, and I had said, I don't think he uses tren. I don't think he uses any harsh anabolics. I said before, I think he uses a very, very low dose of prescription, probably legal prescription, pharmaceutical grade, milder substances at very moderate amounts for decades on end, right? And the reason I say that is because where someone like Mike is, he has continued to make slow, and I mean very slow, steady progress through his 30s, through his 40s, and even at 50, the guy is arguably, possibly even more jacked than he was at 40. And he was really incredibly jacked at 40, okay? And he stays in shape year round. You can't blast a bunch of harsh stuff and come on and off of it and be healthy and alive and keep making progress the way he does at 50. It's just not possible. So I would agree on that, even though Mike is in that ultra jacked category. When people are using, especially under the care of a doctor and stuff, really high quality things with prescriptions, and they're keeping the doses in check and they just train really, really hard. Because Mike trains hard. Look, we can say a lot of things poking fun at Mike's conning and everything else. But if you're going to be objective, if you have to be objective, even if you can't stand the guy and think he's a con man and sells garbage products, right? Fake Natty. At a certain point, you've got to be able to detach and say, but his work ethic in the gym is absolutely phenomenal, right? The guy trains really hard, and he does know what he's doing. And you can dislike the person and still be objective and say, yeah, he really does know what he's doing in the gym. He does, and he does. And I don't think you can't take the other stuff of the duck eggs and the fake judo and everything else and say, well, he doesn't know how to train, because that's ludicrous, because they're not related topics. He clearly trains hard, brutally strong, decades of hard training, and he does know what he's doing in the gym. So we come over to that point. Hard, correct training. Modest amounts of quality, lower side effect substances, probably under the care of doctors, at least for part of it, if not all of it, which means not illegal or anything, for decades, while being genetically gifted. That's his total secret, guys. That's the secret. It's why he is where he is. We come over to the thing of Mike Thurston, though. And that was the one that was interesting. And this is where I saw someone else in the comments kind of say, you know what? That's the point where You notice that Greg took down his Matty Does Fitness thing. He made a little off comment on that in there. We know Matty Does Fitness isn't Natty. Okay, we know that. That's just how it is. My opinion, says me. Took the video down calling it out, but he and Mike Thurston are buddies. And here's the way this works, guys. At the end of the day, everyone in this industry wants to try to be popular in a certain way. Again, I think it's the bald buffalo said in my comments, there's not always a benefit to being a pariah in this industry. I mean, you guys have seen that with me. You're going to suffer some serious slings and arrows for it. Being brutally honest with stuff can create you enemies, and in which case, once you make those enemies, they will attack you on everything. And if you ever slip up, once you make enough enemies in this industry, when you slip up once or twice, they will destroy you with it. They will come at you with everything they have, and they will make sure that your mistakes get driven into the ground. You make enough enemies. Now, people will spend money at a certain point to make sure of that. They hate you enough, they'll spend money to make your mistakes stick. So, there can be some real downsides to being a pariah. So, at a certain point, he's probably just kind of toeing the line while pretending to be a beacon of truth and honesty. Because throw out the obvious one like Michael Hearn, and I agree his assessment of Michael Hearn, even what I think he's using, very similar to what I said in the past, my own opinion. Because everyone who's been around this stuff long enough knows that's probably the case. It's not that hard to understand it. With the Thurston thing, let's come back over. He talked about, well, his legs suck, and they do. Mike has no legs. Mike has no leg development. He really doesn't. He can't squat. And that's kind of the point I've made before of with where Mike is. My own opinion is generally going to be, I look at his delts and the fact that he really doesn't train that well. Okay, that's kind of my point. Big round cap delts. So if we were to look at anything, because I think Greg has said, well, if I just look at the guy, I would think that. But then I look and he seems to know what he's doing, and he probably has great genetics, and he's good looking, and but he's not particularly massive. So let's come back over to the point of that. The problem is that he doesn't train very effectively. His training isn't that good, right? His training isn't that good, which is one reason he has almost no leg development. It's pretty bad. He doesn't know how to squat. He doesn't know how to train legs correctly. He doesn't know how to do any of it. Whereas his upper body is considerably more developed. The standout for me with that is the big round capped delts. Okay. In fact, arguably his delts are capped enough that I would say they're possibly not even all muscle. Okay, his delts are capped enough that might not be purely muscle in there. Okay? And then I'm not going to get into all that. That's already slightly suspect. But also having delts that are capped at that point, particularly someone staying lean all the time, that's usually for me just kind of like I'm not buying the Natty thing at that point. I'm just not going to buy it. But what Greg pointed out when he talked about this stuff, well, if he's in the 1%, that 1% of the guys that do have genetics, if they train hard to be where he is natural. Okay, so we're playing a statistic here. So he said he still thinks he doesn't see major signs of use. He could be natural. Probably is natural. He's also said he's probably used something in the past. So he was wishy-washy there. Let me translate that for you. There's a 1% chance he's natural based on what Greg said. So if we want to come around, because a lot of people would say, oh, well, he gave him the benefit of the doubt. And so Mike and his crew and everyone would then look at Greg and say, oh, yeah, see, he said I'm probably natural. Could be natural. Right? So he gets a pass there. So he's not going to feel offended by it. But really what Greg kind of teeter-tottered around and, well, you know, this and that. I might see it this way, might see it that way. But it could be in that, probably is in that 1% that could be where he is in terms of size and leanness, natural. 1% have the genetics for that. In other words, there's a 1% chance he's natural and a 99% chance he's not. Let me translate that for you based on Greg's math. And I think that's really what he's saying, that either he's a genetic freak or he's not natural. Okay? I'm going to come over and say that if he is a genetic freak who is natural, he's putting something in his delts. Oil is not a drug, though. Right? Oil's not a drug. The delts have been pumped up a little bit. They've been pumped up a little bit. So if he's natural, that would have to be synthol. If he's not natural, it looks like that's where he pins. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.